of a new week. Looking for the best angle um, for me to talk to the camera. And so, yes, Monday, start of a new week. It's the 17th of July. Yesterday was a big talk. Um, and as with most of my talks, um, you don't feel like I covered a whole lot. Not a bad thing. Um, it was a creative talk. It was an inspired talk. I had a bunch of friends stop by. It was fun, but none of the topics, um, none of them should be as if it's coming from any direct authority whatsoever, because it isn't. It is very much spontaneous. Nothing is planned, although the intent is usually to read from my blog and then go from there, see what comes up. Sorry, a little bit of allergies. Eyes are a little itchy. Um, the last 2 days, I don't think I even made it to my blog to read. I started talking and some questions came up. Some friends popped in and things took off. Uh, Lots of talk about diet and training. And then, of course, we tie it all together into a greater theme. And there's always a greater theme. Um, Diet and training are essential to my life, essential to my daily basis. Um, but they are appearances within that larger theme. That everything ties together into um, meditation. For lack of a better term, I say spirituality, but I don't know if I particularly like that term. I go in and out of favor with it because it comes across as if, you say spirituality, and people think, that they are trying to be other. They're trying to be something special. They're trying to be uh, live a life of a certain type of integrity, and that's not it at all. To me, to be spiritual means to be authentic, to be myself, my deep, deep self, and yet at the same time, authenticity also holds the superficial self because it appears. Whatever appears um, is okay. I might not like it. It might be, um, it might even be something that I'm pushing aside, that I dislike, that I'm trying to change. But by virtue of its presence, it means it's okay. It means that it is an aspect of me, maybe the one that I have not accepted yet, but still an aspect of me. Um, I mentioned the other day yesterday actually, talking with Duncan Walsh of Duncan Walsh Fitness, um, having Google right in front of me, and I should make better use of it. Double check myself, especially when I'm going to quote somebody. So let's Google up something. Nothing foreign, if I can spell foreign right. Nothing human is foreign to me. I believe I said Kierkegaard. And the actual quote is, nothing human is alien to me. And it was from Terence. Surprisingly, I was way off, especially as Terence, um, African Roman playwright. I think, that someone else might have quoted him, and I read it from them. Let's double check that too. So we're having a Google Live session here. Nothing human is foreign. And it still comes up as Terence, so I have been mistaken. No one should be surprised by that. However, it's a beautiful quote. Terence was a North African playwright, believe like 195 AD, something around there. Nothing human is foreign to me. To me, that sounds more poetic than alien to me. I'm not sure how it was originally quoted. I'll do some research on that some other time. But nothing human is foreign to me. What does that possibly leave out? Absolutely nothing. My anger, my sorrow, my depression, my grief, my misery, any form of suffering, none of that is foreign to me. That's the essence of spirituality. Not looking for something otherworldly at all, because there is no other world. That doesn't mean that there isn't subtle realms, or that there isn't more. That's not even denying that there's a heaven or whatever. What I'm saying is this here, where we are, what we're doing, that is the essence of everything. Because we can be no other place except for, as Ram Dass so often said in his famous book, we can only be here now, no other place. Which means, as well as nothing human is foreign to me, means we are already spiritual, we are already enlightened, we are already everything we wish to be, as well as everything that we deny. That is the whole basis of Jung's shadow, that we collectively take the things that we deny and shove them into a big bag. Paul, how are you? Yes, we are everywhere. The reason why we're everywhere is because we are nowhere at all. And that leaves us as the very capacity for everything and everywhere. I often talk of the British philosopher Douglas Harding, passed away in 2007, and his headless experiments of pointing in the direction of the seer, pointing in the direction of the observer, and finding absolutely nothing, nothing at all. And yet, everything is held there. I am everywhere and in a cemetery or not. Are you digging today, Paul? I hope if you are and you out there that it's not a miserable day. It has been over much of the country. I heard in Phoenix, I think it was Phoenix, I know it was Arizona, it hit 118 degrees in some spot. China is actually opening up the subway to get people underground and away from the sun. It has been a hot, hot summer, and we're not even halfway through. We're just about halfway through. So I hope everyone is being careful. It's very, very tough for our half husky dog, husky Pomeranian. So is fluffy, double coat, and we normally try to get 2 miles with her, and she's having a rough time. Yeah, isn't that something when we say that it's 87 and it feels cooler? Like it was, I think we hit 96 the other day, and it was 91 the day after, and it felt significantly cooler. Of course, Maryland is famous for its humidity. So, it's 96 with 100% humidity. It's just basically a miserable time. A few years ago, we had a big blizzard, and I swore that I would never complain about summer again. I've been pretty good about that, actually. I enjoy summer. I enjoy warm weather. But you reach a certain point, and it's not a complaint. You're just tired of being hot. But you know what? It still beats being cold. because once I'm cold, I tend to stay cold forever. Yeah, York is good friend of mine lives in York. It's about a 45-minute drive from here, um, and the weather is pretty much the same. Hot, humid, miserable. Probably even worse in York because it's farm territory, so not everyone might have air conditioner. It reminds me, you're saying that you spent a summer. Mark Twain's famous saying um, about the coldest day he ever spent was in San Francisco, and it was the worst summer of his entire life. Um, I think those days, even in San Francisco, are pretty much over. And I forget which territory, Northwest Territory in Canada. Um, I think it hit 98 degrees the other day. And that's northern Canada. That's only a few hundred miles away from the Arctic Circle. That is, oh, and the water off the coast of Florida, the water itself hit 97 degrees, which is crazy. Um, However, I'm not here to complain about the weather. Um, I will save that for my time walking with Mocha, being outside when you're supposed to complain about the weather. Um, I'm going to read a little bit from my blog. Again, I missed it the last 2 days, unless, and still, maybe even after. Paul, if you're sticking around for a little bit, if you want to talk a little bit about training, just bring up the topic. I'm always happy to talk about training, burpees or otherwise. And by the way, congratulations on your fitness H2O. How are you? Thanks for being here. Very much appreciate it. I'm just about to congratulate Paul from Oregon on his muscle up that he got. The other 2 muscle ups, I believe, before you went to the band. Good reps. I know that you, I know I'm going to say good reps, and you're going to say, could have been better. But you're drilling it in, greasing the groove, and they will get better and better each time you do them. It's going to get to the point where it's just going to be a seamless grabbing the bar, muscle up. They say practice makes perfect, which I sort of disagree with. Perfect practice makes for the perfect rep. And exactly, they're yours. You got it up there. Each time you do it, you get a little bit better, a little bit stronger. And again, you get that groove in. That's the important thing. That every time you touch, and that was a great tip from Gus about bending the bar. I'm probably going to do some pull-ups tomorrow, so hopefully I will remember that. And that's the same if you're deadlifting. The key to deadlifting isn't to pull the bar up, but to imagine that you're pushing the legs down through the ground. It's amazing. And same with bench press. Imagine that you're bending the bar. It's amazing, and gripping the bar hard. Same with push-ups. Grip the floor when you're doing push-ups. I was saying it's just amazing, those little tips and how much they carry out. Because you wouldn't think of them. And then somebody offers them to you, and your training is 100% different in a day, in a moment. And it takes someone like Gus. For the deadlift tip, it was Pavel, the Russian kettlebell master. But someone like Gus, who has that muscle up dialed in to perfection. That even the reps, I've complimented him on his reps, and he's like, yeah, they were pretty ugly. I wouldn't be able to tell, because to me, they looked the same when he was fresh as when he was tired, the end of his workout, the beginning of his workout. Of course, he knows the difference, how it feels. But they're the ones who've dialed that in. They have the tips. They have those important tips, and they're always freely and happily passing them on to people like us who are just starting out on something. Hopefully I have some tips on something that I can pass on. So far, um, I haven't discovered what those tips might be, but you know, maybe. I have tips on breathing. I have tips on meditation. Um, maybe a few on diet. Maybe a few on fitness. Um, we'll see. If somebody wants a tip for ultra running, my advice is right now, don't do it. It's too hot. Wait until next spring. There's a good tip for you. All right. So I'm going to, I actually kettlebell training as well. I put in my 10,000 reps with kettlebells. I've put in my 10,000 steps with ultra running, as well as breathing, 10,000 breaths, 10,000 hours meditating for sure. So we all have that thing that we're dialed in on. And also, even a beginner has some good tips if we care to listen, and if they realize that sometimes that beginner's mind, that's one of the first Zen books I read as a kid, Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. For someone like you, Paul, just starting doing muscle ups, you're free to make mistakes, which is good. You don't need your form to be perfect, which is good. You get to discover things. You get to discover what works for you, what doesn't work for you. Not only that, you get to absorb the things that people offer you from people you admire, like us. That beginner's mindset really puts us in a unique position of launching our practice, whatever that practice is, however it's going to go. So even as we get better, keep that beginner's mind, keep that sense of curiosity. I talked about that actually before my workout this morning, that I don't want to purposely chase numbers. I don't want to try to be a better version of myself. I don't want to debate if Busy Dad program is all you need, or if you need to do squats when you work out, or if you don't, because none of it really matters. I'm not training to... Are burpees all you need? Yes. Are they going to get you 18-inch arms? No. Do you want 18-inch arms? Then do curls. Do tricep extensions. Do close grip bench. Do the things that get you what you want. Pretty simple. For me, I want to train. So everything works. Nothing is off limits. I am training to train. I am training to be good at training. So Busy Dad works for me. However, an Iron Wolf program works for me as well. Doing Pulls from Oregon works for me. It all works because I'm trying to get good at training. That's it. That's my goal. I'm not going to... Today was a struggle. My Navy SEAL set was miserable, mentally and physically. The least amount of Navy SEALs that I've gotten probably in 3 or 4 months. And right after the 5-minute mark, I knew I was going to get nowhere close to the numbers that I've been getting. But I pushed through. I got 101 reps. And I was perfectly fine with it. Did I like it? No. But it doesn't have to meet my expectations. My only expectation is to get down and do burpees, to do Navy SEALs. Accepting that paradox that some days I'm going to chase numbers and some days I'm not going to chase numbers, that some sessions call for that, some sessions call for me to be completely miserable and um, not get anything that I wanted. All of that is good. None of that um, is an experience. Going back to what I was talking about earlier with uh, the philosopher, playwright Terence, nothing that's human is foreign to me. Same with training, you know, chasing the urge to chase numbers sometimes pops up and I chase numbers. Sometimes it's not there and I just get the session in, but it's all absolutely good. I'm doing exactly what I love to do, which is train. And after a few decades of training specifically for kettlebell sport, training for powerlifting at one time, training for bodybuilding at one time, training for martial arts, training for um, ultra running, it's a relief to leave everything behind except for the enjoyment of motion, just moving every day in some way that I love, in some way that's beneficial for me, some way that gets me sweating and breathing hard um, and feeling like I've done something pretty awesome and being curious. Curiosity changes everything. What can I do with the body I have today? I mention that often. It's from my old Bikram yoga days. Um, they would always, for them, if there was an irony in how they said it, do the yoga that your body can do today. And then in the same breath, they'd say, and push yourself, go deeper, hold that stretch, um, which is sort of, contradicting what they're saying. I took the best part of it, performing with the body that I have today. Some days that's 110 Navy SEALs. One day it was 115 Navy SEALs. Today it was a hard fought 101 Navy SEALs. That's the body that I had. I did the very best I could with the body I had today. And that includes my mindset, because it's not mind, body, mind/body, mind, body. One thing. How my body feels. There's a David Goggins meme of him running and saying, I don't stop when my body tells me to stop. I stop when my mind tells me to stop. That's a duality that doesn't exist, because there is no mind separate from the body. There's no body separate from the mind. You stop when whatever the situation calls for to stop. Sometimes it's the mind, sometimes it's the body, sometimes it's both, sometimes it's a blister, sometimes it's, there's only one David Goggins. I leave that field entirely to him. For me, I stop when the situation again calls for me to stop. Um, we're all wired differently. Not a critique against David Goggins in the least, but I can't do that stuff. I don't really have, that much of a desire to do that stuff. Well, that's actually not true. I do everything David Goggins does. I do pull-ups, I run, I race, or I have. But I do it to my own level of enjoyment, to my own level of intuitive, spontaneous love of the moment. Showing down at my basement pit, my burpee pit, hitting the floor. That's the magic of Busy Dad's program. When it comes to 20 minutes and leaving it all behind, nothing beats Busy Dad. Nothing beats 20 minutes of 6 counts, 20 minutes of Navy SEALs, and then do a finisher of whatever afterwards if you want. Never once has Max showed up on my page and said, that's not the way to do it. So, does the Busy Dad program work? Yes. Does it work for what you want it to? Maybe not. Depends on what you want it to do. But for me, I absolutely love it. I also love, Yeah, this is Monday. Monday is 6 count day for Paul from Oregon. Um, I always look forward to see what you do and what you bring, because you have, I don't know if you would agree, you seem to spontaneously have the attitude that I'm talking about. You push hard. Some days you're happy with it. Some days you're not happy with it. Um, and but you put it out there and then you leave it behind. There's another session. You know, not every day is going to be 256 counts. Um, not every day is going to be 206 counts. But some days magic happens, and it is. Um, I have never, with burpees, set out and said today's a PR day and gotten a PR. Um, I've never said today's a PR day. I've never made a PR attempt. I just do my reps and a PR shows up. That's the key to manifestation. Don't want anything and you get everything. Um, is one way of looking at it. Um, 20 minutes of 6 counts, and I don't know, Paul. To me, I appreciate your intent and your attitude, um, and you approach it all with good humor. Everything is better when you can laugh at your situation, when you can laugh where you find yourself. Um, when you are on the verge of throwing up on camera, or sometimes even past that uh, point, when you actually might have done so, but you still can approach it with good humor and know it was a good session because you let it all out there. Um, you're onto something, in my opinion. That was the big thing with ultra running. You embrace the suck. Um, I can't say that I know it's part of what I'm going to do, which is fine. One of the reasons why I do it. I like it. Um, Gurdjieff talked about voluntary suffering, not as any way of achieving some type of virtue, but because um, for its own sake, its own cleansing sake, we are washed anew in suffering. We become something of deeper in essence of ourselves, I guess is the best way of saying it. Um, I would agree. Let me read Paul's comment that I've long had a life theory that many don't like. Life is a cosmic joke. Let it go, have fun, and I agree 100%. Um, it ties in with the Vedic yogic concept, even the Buddhist, of um, Maya, an illusory world. Uh, the world is an illusion, and a lot of people don't like that. If the world is an illusion, why are we dreaming of suffering? Why are we, um, doesn't that um, sort of cause a sense of dismay that there's so much suffering in a dream world? It feels real. If I stub my toe, it's painful. If I lose someone I love, I suffer. Well, what do we choose in our dreams? What is it that we dream that we actually choose? Nothing. I'm not saying that life is illusory, although I think that it is in a sense, but that doesn't mean it's not real. It's a subtle difference. There's a little bit of a paradox there. When we are in the dream state, that dream state certainly feels real. When we are in the waking state, it certainly feels real, which is correct. The Aborigines of Australia believe it's just the flip side, that the dream world is reality, and this is the dream essence of that reality. Who's to say? Um, it makes what we do, it definitely makes what we do a little more uh, lighthearted. Even holding our suffering, even holding our sorrow, knowing that it's part of life. Without it, would we really be alive? You know, I keep tying back into the original theme that I talked about, uh, the philosopher Terence, who I miscorrectly stated this as being from, I don't remember who I originally said it was, Kierkegaard, I think, that nothing human is foreign to me. That means suffering, that means sorrow, that means um, the horrors of a Navy SEAL session gone bad. That means losing a loved one. Everything. It all belongs. It's all part of being human. Um, and whether or not it's illusory, it's still real. So that's the way. That's the way the Vedic seers and yogic masters see it. Maya, illusion, or Lila, the divine play, which in some ways is actually even better. A divine play of the gods, or of a specific god, or of God, depending on how you view things. Um, that in a divine play, in any kind of a play, we all have roles to play. There's all kinds of characters. We need that drama to hold the audience's attention. We need the sorrow. We need the tears. We need the laughter. We need the drama. We need it all. That's life. What we find is that we are so deep, neck deep in life. Can't remove ourselves from anything. We can't remove ourselves from the suffering. We can't remove ourselves from the joke. As Paul said, let it go. Have fun the best that you can. Some days you're going to be able to do it better than other days. However, if you can get to that point where you know that there is no actual self invested in any of this, it's another thing I talked about this morning after my workout. That one of the reasons why I don't really talk about self-improvement or being a better self today than I was yesterday is because the self that I was yesterday no longer exists. That self was motion. That self was an event, confluence of all kinds of things coming together in that moment. And even at that very moment it came together, it was already in essence becoming something else. So how can that be better today? It's just different today. Does that mean that we can't do any kind of self-improvement? Obviously, I don't mean it that way, because what we can do is reveal ourselves. We can be, we can let, again, as Paul mentioned, we can let go. We can be more fully who we are, meaning that motion, accepting that when we can do that, we see that our natural essence is compassion, it's kindness, empathy, all that good stuff. And when we see that, what is there to improve? Absolutely nothing. This is as good as it gets, which can sound pretty freaking awful. This is as good as it gets. If this is as good as it gets, and I only did 101 Navy SEALs, well, then what is the sense in doing Navy SEALs again tomorrow? And there is absolutely no sense in doing Navy SEALs tomorrow or the next day or whenever. That doesn't mean I'm not going to do it. Things aren't as rigid as we think they are. Things don't appear in that rigid sense as we think they do. Life is much more fluid, more expansive, more empty, where everything appears. There is no single cause for everything. Another thing I hear often is everything happens for a reason. We don't know that for certain. I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm not saying there isn't a cause, but everything happens to bring us here. And here, it's just an open, expansive allowance of everything. And even as we get here, it's already becoming something else. So there is no everything happening for a reason or reasons at all, because there is no ultimate end to this motion. It's just going and going and going. So, speaking of self-improvement and speaking of goals and achieving something, I made a promise to myself today, at least for today, that I was not going to talk for an epic hour plus session, or even over 40 minutes. And we are fast approaching 36 minutes. So I will probably start winding things up. I didn't make it to my blog, which is okay, because I write every day. Today, Paul, thanks for stopping by. I really appreciate it. And thanks for helping me bring this conversation to a meaningful point. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I wrote about mettle today. METTLE, as in courage. The reason why I wrote about mettle is because I opened up my dictionary, and that's the word that opened up right there. It's just a little way of coaxing inspiration. You can write about anything. We should write about anything. Some days we'll have a theme, others we won't. When you don't have a theme, if you feel just a little stuck, any book will do, and it's magic. Open it up. Pick out one word, one sentence, one paragraph, and write from there. The mettle, courage, and it brought me to talking about my father, the courage of allowing myself to be open with my father when he was dying, his very last breath, his very last moment, to not try to put on any kind of false pretense of things will be better, or this was for the best, or he's no longer suffering, or, I'll get over this. None of that. Because it wasn't time for any of that. It wasn't time to tell a story. As Paul said, it was time to let go, which I did. And in that letting go, I accepted everything. And that included my grief, my fear, my sorrow, my father's suffering, knowing that I was losing the most important person in my life. That's mettle to me. So, anyway, a little inspiration. With that, I appreciate anyone who popped in today, anyone who showed up. Paul from Oregon, Fitness H2O. If anyone watches this and they're not familiar with both of those channels, check them out, because both of them are very valuable sources of fitness, of inspiration, of programming, all the good stuff that we need, all the stuff that I appreciate. All right, guys, I'm wrapping it up, and I'm bringing it in under 40 minutes. I appreciate you guys for stopping by. Take care.